What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by the Real Estate Cheat Code. I have Rita Boswell with us, and she's from eXp Realty. And Rita, we got to know each other, I guess, a couple years back is when we first kind of connected. And I'm excited to have you on to share and learn a little bit more about your journey into the business.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to kind of talk about my journey.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things I find, with interviewing agents and, I'm expanding into builder reps now, and I've kicked around the idea of, just other people are affiliates, right? Like, I'm a big believer that business is business, and I can learn from anyone else that's running a small business. But what I find is a lot of times we don't actually step back and look at our journey, and we don't actually reflect on the steps and the decisions and things that we made along the way. And I'm not talking about just in the business. I'm talking about, there's life that happens, right? There's career changes that happens, and and how those have had a impact on us one way or the other in our business, and how we view things moving forward. So Rita, on the Tell Me More podcast, we always start from the very, very, very beginning, which is your childhood. What was life for you growing up?
Well, I came from a family of 3 sisters, 1 brother, 5 kids. My mom and dad, by the time they were 25, had us all 5.
Wow.
So imagine that. We're all about a year apart. I have, my brother was the baby, so my sisters are, we're all so close in age, so that's nice. It's a blessing, the big family that we have. And I even think with Thanksgiving, I always think of, we get together and we're all living close together. So it's nice to have that big family. With my mom and dad being so young, my mom stayed home. We lived with my grandparents for a little bit while I was probably about 5 when my dad was building our house. He worked probably 2, 3 jobs. He's a workaholic. And he designed our house and managed the whole build process. But he's not in real estate. He's an engineer. And
Okay.
when I grew up, if anybody asked what my dad did, we really didn't know, and he talked about it all the time, but it was way over our head. So none of us really picked up his intelligence in regards with, engineering, science, math, all that. So being the second oldest, I was the one in the family who was the more nurturing one. I was the one that was by mom's side all the time, that took care of my siblings. And not to say I wasn't really a goody two-shoes, but I was the more nurturing one. And let me think. I was probably the one in the family that was the last to learn how to ride a bike, the last to learn how to swim, because I was very cautious. So that's pretty much my childhood. And it was very traditional. It was a very traditional upbringing. We went to church every Sunday. We went to grandma's after church every Sunday. With my cousins were all there. Big dinner. It was like a holiday every Sunday.
Did you have any hobbies or anything, interests growing up?
No, I really didn't. Being the one, I like to cook. I like to bake probably more than cook. And it's funny I say that because I don't do any of that. But that was kind of my thing. And so really no hobbies. Sports, I was the one that it's funny that, and I'll get into the whole journey to real estate, but I was, like I said, the cautious one. So with sports, if I couldn't do it perfect right away, then I just won't do it. So I avoided like team sports. I was probably the last to be picked at, gym. I just, I, I didn't like not being good.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you end up going to college after high school, or did you get into the career field? What was your kind of your path after high school?
Well, I, I did go to college for 1 year. I went into education, elementary education. I either wanted to go into like nursing or education. So I picked elementary education. And then again, I I backed out of that after a year because I just didn't have confidence in myself. I was afraid of failing. So I grew up cautious and afraid of failing.
Let me ask you, is that do you think that was because of your upbringing, um, or is that just kind of naturally your personality?
Well, I think it's kind of naturally my personality. Um, Maybe my upbringing had some contributing factors to it,
Yeah.
but I think I was just, and to a certain degree, obviously, I'm still a little more reserved, a little more
Hmm.
cautious, careful, quiet to a certain degree.
It's interesting because obviously, and we'll get to it, but obviously in our career,
Hmm.
right? Most people believe from the outside looking in that you have to be this, extrovert,
Hmm.
big, loud person.
Right.
You got to be going to the networking events and to the parties and all of those things in order to have success.
Right.
And, that's why I love having interviews with just, agents in our marketplace that are selling real estate because it's not that all the
Hmm.
time. You don't have to be that in order to have success. And obviously, the message, here on the Tell Me More podcast is you get to define what success looks like. And the reason why I bring people on and talk about their journeys was because I personally don't always like top listing agent this or top agent that, or I don't think that gives the right message all the time
Hmm.
to the person that maybe is just getting into the business, because when you throw in top agent this, top agent that, top agent whatever, there's this sense of like I have to do it their way or I have to be them and do it their way in order to have success, and that's not the case. So we'll dive into that a little bit, I'm sure, as we get into the real estate side of things. But so lead me up to, you go to college, you're there for a year, early childhood education, kind of lead me down that journey, and then the kind of the career path up until real estate.
Yeah, I got a job at, well, I got married, my first husband, back right when I got out of college. I was probably 20, almost 21. Had my first son at 22. Got divorced at 23. Um, it was really a disaster, to be honest. But so I worked at Bank One, visa fraud, and I really liked that. I like doing research, so I enjoyed that job. But I ended up getting a job after that at Red Roofing corporate offices, and because that was a lot closer to my location, my sister worked there. She loved it. They had amazing benefits, and that's where I met my husband. Um, and it was like a family environment. It was you could work out on work time. It was like a country club, really. It was a great place to work. And it was great because, you know, I had 2 other boys from my husband, and and, so when my kids were young, I was probably in the best shape of my life, just which most it's hard when you're a mom and you have kids to find time to work out. But I also had the flexibility. So it was really nice while I was there. But I was probably there 21 years.
Oh, wow.
But I managed the audits, the internal audits that came from all the ends. So we made sure that they were compliant, doing everything correct. And in that job, I ended up I had my IT guy create a report, and I uncovered thousands of internal fraud at Red Roof
Wow.
Inns on my own.
Wow.
And I enjoyed that. And it kind of scared me because I could think like, what would I do if I was going to steal money? so, so it was an old boys club there, though. The CFO called me into his office, and my boss, he was sitting there in the office, and CFO shakes my hand, says, you know, thank you so much for, you know, what you did. I thought, oh, wow, this is really cool. I'm getting recognized for this. And he gave me this gift, this little wrapped gift. And I said, thank you, and shook his hand and all that. I went back to my desk and I opened up the gift, and it was a big, giant Red Roof Inn mug.
Mhm.
So I'm like, oh gosh, but that was just how it was, and
Yeah.
it was fine. So from there, Red Roof Inns eventually they moved to Texas. They relocated, and so I found another job at Sterling Commerce, basically managing the technical support hotline, which was completely different from what I was doing at Red Roof. And I actually thought that they made a mistake. But after about 3 months, I realized that they didn't make a mistake, that technical people are very different. And like a lot of the managers were technical for the people, and they didn't even want to post stats because they don't want to offend anybody or what. It was just
Mhm.
different. And I realized that they like see the trees, you know, I see the forest.
Yeah.
So I was able to create reports that, you know, increase the service level. But that was basically where that was the job that everything, like, I had a moment in time that I will never forget, um, that changed my whole direction. And I liked it there. I liked what I did, but it felt like it's hard to explain. It felt like I was working in a foreign country. It was just it didn't connect with me.
Yeah.
And one day, I remember this is the moment that I'll never forget. It was so insignificant, but it was just a normal moment in life, but it changed everything. But I went over to my mom and dad's because I was taking care of their cats on my lunch hour, and I was driving back, and I was thinking in my mind, what do I want to do when I'm 50? Because I was in my 40s.
Mhm.
And I was having this conversation with myself, and I said, I don't want to work and I don't want to do this. I don't want to be doing what I'm doing right now. And so I'm like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like this. So what do you
Mhm.
want to do? And I remember, you know, it's like I said, I want to be my own, I want to own my own business. And right after I said that, I heard myself say, you can't do that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no more. I can
Yeah.
do that. And I I remember promising myself I wasn't allowed to say that anymore. And so what I did was, in my mind, anytime that I heard myself say, I can't do that, I would imagine it as a piece of paper, like written on a piece of paper or something.
Yeah.
And I would ball it up and I would light a fire to it. So it's like I started noticing what was going on in my head. And I didn't like what I was hearing. So I made it stop. And
Hmm.
from then I just, and it was kind of, it was a just so significant. And even my husband noticed a difference in me and it scared him because he's like, what is going on? On and up, because I wasn't laughing at his stupid jokes anymore. It was like I was like, what about me now? And
Yeah.
that was really, I think, because my oldest son just graduated from high school. So that's where I thought, my kids are gonna grow up. What about me? What do I want?
Hmm.
And so it was a huge change. And I think um, in that journey, um, my husband being scared, I I told him, I said, I want to start a business. I don't know what that I don't even know what, but I want to do something on my own. And um, he's like, I support you, whatever you want. Because he's probably thinking she's going to leave me because I wasn't like, and like I told you, I was the nurturer. So it's a
Yeah.
natural thing for me. So I nurtured him, I nurtured everybody but myself.
Yeah.
And so that when that changed, he was like, where's my nurturing? What's going on? So, but I think just because that made me even fall in love with him more because he was willing to. It's like
Yeah.
whatever we need to do, you
Yeah.
find it, you do your thing. So, so I actually went to SCORE meetings. I don't know if you've ever heard of
No,
SCORE.
I've never
It's an
heard of that.
acronym, and I don't even remember what it stands for, but it's something to do with retired business owners helping other
Mm.
potential business owners. So I
Mm.
went to the meetings, and then I sat down with a sweet, sweet old man. He might have been 80s. I don't know. He was a business owner, but oh my gosh, he's like, um, are you okay working 15-hour days, 7 days a week? And he just went on about all the uglies. And I'm like, yeah, I think, but, and I left there thinking, what am I doing? This is crazy. And so then I thought, maybe I'll own a coffee shop or a bookstore because I thought that would be neat.
Yeah.
And I got a part-time job at a coffee shop on the weekends. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But the 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 challenge was I did all my research into it and I found out that I would have to probably quit my job, hire, a consultant. Uh,
Yeah.
we'd have to move into an apartment and it would be like huge. So that was like, and then what if it didn't work out?
Hmm.
So that was scary. And then I was just Googling and searching and seeking. And I happened to come across, um, and I don't even remember the name, it was multiple streams of income, something, a phone call to get on.
Mm.
And I got on this phone call. I wish I could remember the name of who it was. You might even recognize it. But it was about real estate, I think writing books or different things. And
Yeah.
the real estate one, the hair on my arm stood up. I'm like, this is it. This is it. And so they had a course, and it's like limited time if yes. So I got my credit card out. I was upstairs, my husband's downstairs, and I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm not even asking him. I'm just going to do it because if I ask him, I won't do it.
Yeah.
So I ordered the course, and then and of course, back then, it wasn't an online anything. It was something that was going to come in the mail.
Right, right, right.
And so I'm like, oh shoot, I've got to tell him. I felt like I was cheating on him. Because it was probably like I don't even remember. It was a lot of money for us,
Yeah.
to get my credit card out. And so I ended up thinking I better tell him. So I said, hey, honey, um, remember when I told you I was thinking about going back to school and how, it would cost us some money to have to, get a loan or something. He's like, yeah. I said, remember when I said, I open a coffee shop and have to, he's like, yeah. I said, well, instead I got this real estate course for it. So he kind of went like, what? And I said, I promise, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And so I had to tell myself I had to be okay with failing. I had to know that I was going to fail and be okay with that.
Mm.
So I got the course. I was listened to probably the whole thing. I think I don't even remember. I remember like it. I was supposed to make phone calls from the Sunday Dispatch. That it was. I feel like, gosh, it was back in the old days.
Yeah.
I had to look at the newspaper and make phone calls, and it was like I was so scared. And my first phone call, and they had like this script on what to say, and
Right.
I called and I'm like, I'm a real estate investor and I'm, asking about your house. And the lady's like, oh, you're a real estate investor? And she was like quizzing me. And then she's like, do you go to the RIA meetings? And I'm like, what's RIA? No. And I wanted to hang up. She was like, knew that I was faking it.
Yeah.
And so I hung up. I was like, oh my gosh, that was horrible. But I said, I got to because that was so bad, I have to make another phone call.
Yeah.
And the next one was fine. It was better. They were nice. And so eventually, I didn't get really anything from the phone calls, but I approached, I forget even how a realtor, and I bought a house, a fixer-upper in Westerville. That was scary, but I thought, I gotta just jump in, and,
So that course was more on the investing side? Like
it was
as a
it
okay.
wasn't a realtor. I started
Yeah.
out as investing.
Nice.
Yeah, and so I bought this little house, adorable house in Westerville. I don't even know how I got it. I got it for a good price. And just asked the agent, who do you recommend I use to fix it up? It was some like 100-year-old lady that lived in it and passed away. And she recommended a guy. I didn't know any better, like do this, do
Yeah.
that, paint, whatever. Um, and then I had a little bit of a panic attack when I realized my insurance would only cover 50% of it. So I didn't even get the right insurance thing or something. I don't even remember. But so like at 9 o'clock at night, one night I had a panic attack and went and put a for sale sign in the yard at night. The next day, my phone blew up. It went crazy. And I'm like, what the heck? I had no idea. And so I did like an open house that Sunday, and tons of people, and they're stepping over paint cans and things. I'm in the middle of, I
Yeah.
mean, I did everything wrong. And then I had one of the buyers, or one of the people coming through, she was with her realtor, and the realtor said to me, she's interested in making an offer. Are you okay to co-op? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I didn't know what he meant. I had no idea
Right.
what he meant. So she said, stop everything you're doing. I'm in halfway through getting, and they made an offer. It was a good offer. We closed on it. I made probably a little bit of money. I don't even know how much, because I didn't really calculate or do my numbers, but I know that I came out ahead.
Yeah.
So um, so then I was doing started getting into like lease purchases, and accidentally came across a short sale. A lady called me, and she was like in a really tough situation. I really wanted to help her, but I knew nothing. So
Hmm.
I sought out another investor who was doing short sales. I don't even remember how I found him, but I asked him if he would partner with me on it, help me out, and he did. Um, and it was a long that one. And I'm working at the same time. Obviously, I'm doing all
Right.
this. Um, but that one, and I really liked this lady a lot. The house was great, a great log home kind of house in Marengo. And she got somebody scammed her. And back then, that was about 2000, early 2000s, when a lot of the crap was happening, um, with just bad lending and everything.
Right.
So she was, yeah, I just felt like I really wanted to help her. And she just wanted, I think, $5,000 just to get a double wide. So, so this investor helped me, and we ended up, and I ended up finding another short sale in the meantime. So I was working two of them, and we ended up closing kind of right about it. I think I made 20,000, and then another 15,000 on the other one, like weeks apart. And I'm like, what the heck? So if I couldn't even. I remember the day that I closed on that at Sterling Commerce. My boss came in, and she had to tell me. She was like, "I'm sorry to say, Rita, I'm really, and I feel really bad, but we're not giving out raises this year or something." And I'm like, I couldn't, couldn't like, because I was so happy about my closing. Like, it's all
Yeah.
right, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's like, "Wow, you're okay with that?" I'm like, "Yeah." But she had no idea, because I couldn't tell him.
Right.
So,
Right.
um, so it is kind of a, long, winding journey that I went on. And it was, I partnered with that investor for a little while, and then that I broke up with him, because mainly it was his wife. Her and I didn't click.
Yeah.
So broke up, and I actually went back to a day job. Worked at Nationwide Insurance. Um, I didn't want to, but I had to reevaluate everything, because we were doing um, lease lease purchases and subject tos.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one situation I wasn't happy with. And so I'm like, I don't work this kind of business. This isn't how I work. So I I took I went back to work, and then I had to evaluate, what am I going to do? What clicks? And I just realized, the short sales clicked with me because I I can do, I empathize with the people. I
Mm-hmm.
want to help them, and I'm pretty detailed with my work. I can deal with the process that goes along with it. So, I said, okay, I'm going to just focus on short sales. I found strategic real estate coach in Cleveland. I don't know if you're familiar with um, Greg Clement, Josh Cantwell, and Jeff
Mm-hmm.
Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Watson's pretty much the big attorney. He's an attorney who works with a lot of investors even now. But I hired, I went to their masterminds, made sure I was doing everything right. I learned a lot from them, and actually was able to build my short sale business to where I was able to quit my job. And um, then everything crashed and burned. And not only with the market, I I had independent contractors, I guess, that were doing my negotiating, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a boyfriend girlfriend team where she was really good. He was ex mortgage guy, pretty salesy, um, but that ended up going south when I met with a homeowner, and I didn't really have any competition with short sales at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at the time where realtors didn't even know what short sales meant or how to deal with them.
Because they weren't coming to the market yet.
No, but there was a lot of them at that time because of the mortgages were doing shady
Mm-hmm.
things. There
Yep.
was a lot of shady stuff going on. And so where was I? Just talking about all of a sudden I lost my.
You had the negotiation team, and you
Oh
went out
yes,
to.
yeah. So I met with a homeowner, and she said, well, the other investor said blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, another investor. I've got competition. And I asked, can I ask what their name is? And it was my negotiator and her boyfriend. And I said, interesting. I said, can I see the paperwork? And it was my paperwork. So I left there, called my attorney, shut them out of my system, told them they're fired, contacted all my realtors. I had over 20 short sales going.
Mm.
And um, balls were dropping all over the place. And they ended up suing me for future business. So I I didn't know to do I didn't have any kind of independent contractor agreement. I didn't have anything. Um, so it was kind of a financial collapse for me,
Sure.
really. I had to, I had to deal with a lot. And it's like I feel like I still have PTSD from it because it was not only at the time, it was also at the time, I guess, that everything was changing for the short sale investors.
Mm-hmm.
The market was changing. So for me and I remember, my boys, I think they were in high school at that time. And I'm like, I'm okay. I don't need the stuff. I'll live in a tent if I have to. I mean, that it meant so much to me to have my own thing, but to bring my family down, that was the tough part, you
Mm,
know. And but really it was good for them too.
yeah,
Just as a nurturing mom, I want perfect for them, and
sure.
they didn't need perfect. Nobody does. So so that took me on another journey to, figure out what I was. I had another colleague, a friend that I knew, she's actually in Virginia, that we were kind of trying to find other things to do. There was like commercial lending things and other, we'd go to other conferences together. She had a job, but she was kind of funding me doing these things. And it just didn't click with me. So I realized I need to just go back to the short sales and I need to just get my license. And I resisted getting my license. My brother-in-law used to, say, "Why don't you just get your license?" I'm like, "I don't want my license." Um, so I got my license and I knew how to market to short sales. So I started with short sale listings.
What year did you get your license?
Um, well, actually, 2000, probably January 1, 2012, I started.
Okay.
Mhm,
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, with the background that you had, I mean, there were still plenty of short sales, that
mhm,
were going on, hitting the market, all of those things. So that was just kind of more of a natural dive in. What
mhm.
was the first, year or two like for you getting into the business? Is that all you focused on? Was it instant success? Were there struggles from the agent, side of things?
It was not instant success, although I did get some listings. Um, I worked part-time at, a psychologist office, and they're, like, as a receptionist, so I was able to, still have a little bit of, money coming in, and, but there were times that I swear I had my head in my hands thinking, "How am I gonna, what am I doing?"
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, it was not easy, and I for me, it was important, I think, um, I didn't wanna work for anybody, that was always my thing. I wanted to build my own brand, and, there was a point where I did say to myself, "Maybe I need to do this team thing," and I actually interviewed with, someone in there. Um, they said no, but they said no because they knew that I wasn't I would not have been a good, probably, because I was, like, determined to just do my thing,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and I'm glad, but I would highly recommend anybody I talk to who just gets their license now, I'm like, "Join a team,"
Well, I
'cause
always tell people, like I believe it should be a requirement. Not everyone is meant to be on a team. Not everyone has the personality to be a team player. That's not bad, but I believe everyone should have to start on a team at least 6 months, 12 months to have the support, and then go off and do your thing, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. And honestly, it's probably good for that team leader that you sat down and interviewed with to recognize that for you too, because it may have sped some things up, but deep down you probably wouldn't have been happy.
I know I wouldn't have. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out that way, and it just, I don't know, it pushed me to keep trying, keep.
So lead me up to like current day of your real estate business. Walk me kind of through like how did you build, obviously you started with the short sales because that was a little bit more natural for you. Um, did you just ride that wave as long as you could? Did you start, bringing in traditional real estate with your sphere and all of that stuff? How did you go about building your business up into, current day?
Well, kind of just by the seat of my pants, I think, to a certain degree. I I wasn't great. I'm probably better at talking to strangers than I am to my sphere.
It's
So
interesting because you're more reserved, you know,
I
and
know,
you would think the opposite.
I know it's odd because I could do circle prospecting as long as that script is comfortable for me. But calling, just calling someone I know, and if I call someone I know, it's just going to be a hey, how you doing, and not talk
Yeah.
real estate. So I'm just not. I struggle with the sales part, the
Mhm.
salesy conversations, but I can be. I I I have learned, it's okay to be authentic, to not have. If I'm not, if I can't, if I'm not comfortable with that sales comfort conversation,
Right,
I
right.
don't have to do it. That not, there are people that are going to respect and be okay with just, you know, someone giving them time, giving them space, not pushy. Um, so it basically it is. It was. I did the Zillow, and I did pretty well with the Zillow up until the past. I did Zillow for quite a while. I I stopped Zillow about a year ago. It just changed, or I changed. I don't know, but I nurture a lot. I nurture my
Mhm.
database. I follow up is very important. What else done? I'm I think I've done okay with past clients. I could do better. There's so many things I know that, I'm all over the place sometimes. And that's the one thing in our business that I have noticed, we could door knock, we could
Yeah.
go after for sale by owners, we can go after expireds, and um, but and sometimes I'm guilty of doing too many things and not being great at anything. So it's the ones I think that are finding what resonates with them are the ones that are
Mhm.
successful, not trying to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think too, like, when I coach clients, agents getting into the business, I think, naturally why short sales worked the best for you was because you were more nurturing and, the people that are experiencing a short sale, losing their home, right? They probably lost a job or something financially, happened in their life that created, that thing.
Mhm,
And they needed someone like you in
mhm,
their corner, right? To walk them through that process and to, put the game plan together and to have a person to talk to, right? And it's scary, those of us that have been in the business when, going through all of that stuff, and I came in 2011, so I always say like I'm so appreciative that I got into the business at that time because having to talk to someone that just came out of a bankruptcy or,
mhm,
just had a foreclosure 2 years ago or, currently going through a short sale, and encouraging them and showing them that there's still light at the end of the tunnel. And this isn't the final nail in the coffin. And, hey, when we're through this and you get back on your feet, right? Real estate and owning a home is still better than renting, and doing it. And one of my best clients ever, I helped them. They had gone through a situation like that, and they were so nervous to buy another home. And I just said, look, we just have to find a home and a comfort and a payment that you guys can for sure afford, that you're comfortable with, and that it makes sense. And I promise you, if we do that, then you're going to be fine. And now fast forward, I mean, they're probably sitting on $200,000 or more in equity.
mhm,
They're still in that home. It was a great property. So, I'm so grateful for, but that's probably why short sales worked for you. Right. And that's what I, you know, coach agents on. What's your personality? What do you enjoy doing? Who are you? And we can make anything in real estate happen. But I got to get you to show up more. I got to get you to like it. I got to get you to be consistent, in that approach. So
Right. No,
spot on.
I
Rita,
agree.
I want to kind of pivot and look to the future of your business and kind of where you want to get to. And I know, we got a couple minutes left of your time, but what's something that you're looking to accomplish in the next 12 months? What's a goal of yours within the business?
Oh gosh, in the next 12 months. Well, to actually figure out, I'm in that, I feel like I'm in that stage of where I was, you know, exploring coffee shops, exploring. I'm there now with the real estate, like, because I've got, I'm not getting any younger and I'm at a place where I do kind of want to scale, but I don't think I'll ever want to retire. So I'm trying to figure that out. And my my current niche that I'm focusing on is basically the aging community and probates.
Mm,
So um, you know, just figuring out how I can do this and do what I love, the parts that I love about the business, and be able to. We're also, my husband and I were planning on buying a beach condo in the spring at Hilton Head to do Airbnb. So
mhm.
that's another new. Um, I haven't really done anything with the investing side other than I partnered with my friend Todd on a couple things, a wholesale and a fix and flip, but I haven't gone back to that
Mhm.
for a while. So this is kind of an exciting thing for, I'd like to eventually do winters there and, so just I'm at a place where I'm figuring that out. How
Yeah.
do I make this happen?
Yeah.
What do I need to do to make this happen?
I like it. What's a legacy goal for you? What's a goal that you're looking to accomplish when you're no longer here?
Hmm, I don't know. I think that that my that my sons, see how I have, I guess, s- overcome some of those um, ingrained things that would have held me back, but I didn't let them. And I think already I'm seeing that, where they're they're doing the same thing. So I don't know. That's all really I can think of.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. What's last question for you? What is a piece of advice that maybe you received, a piece of advice that you wish you had when you maybe first started in the business, or something that you share, if agents ask you for advice? What's something that you always go back to and reference?
I think I already pretty much mentioned. I think the team is very important. Being on a good team, a team, make sure you interview and find a team that's going to support what you need. Um, and don't like figure out what resonates with you. You don't have to do everything. Um, you can, you know, just work on for sale by owners or, whatever is comfortable. But I think the team is going to help you find that too, because sometimes you don't know what that is
Hmm.
right away either. You don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you have to try a little bit of everything and figure that out.
Yeah.
And I'm still, like I said, I'm still guilty of, I'm I'm always doing a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit, and then I like stop. Like I don't finish off one thing. And I even have right in front of me, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And I I struggle with that. I do.
Yeah. A lot of
So
people do.
yeah.
You know, and it's, this time of year, obviously we're recording this, end of fall going into winter.
Mhm,
This is the time of year where a lot of agents start to wander, right? And it's
mhm,
not wander, you know, out of the business. Well, that will happen too, but it's starting to wander away from what you just said, keeping the main thing, right?
right.
Like if it's working, it might be seasonality. It might just be slow right now, but it still works, right? Double down on it, triple down on it, increase your skills on it, right? But
Right.
keep the main thing that you're good at, that you're the best. My coach always calls it like, what are you the best in the world at, right?
Mhm,
Um, and just keep getting after it. Don't allow the distractions to happen. So I love that. Just what do you enjoy doing? Who are you? And what real estate activities can you do around those two things?
mhm,
And I promise you, there's plenty of opportunities and options, no matter what personality you have, no matter what hobbies or interests you have. Um, there's so many different ways to build a real estate business, but the biggest separator is the the successful agents are showing up consistently doing those things, right?
yes.
Doing the real estate activities. So, Rita, I really appreciate you taking your time to jump on here with me today. Those that are watching, if you guys have connected with her and would love to just pick her brain, if you're in the business, her phone number is down below. If you guys are a buyer, seller, investor, and you want to talk to her about the real estate side of things, please reach out to her. But Rita, for those that are listening in, maybe on the podcast, what is the best way for someone to connect with you?
My cell phone is the best, and that's 614-270-4499.
Awesome. Rita, thanks so much. I appreciate you. If I can do anything for you and your business, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm here to help you any way that I can. And I also want to wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right, we'll talk here soon.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.
Bye.